Trainers sometimes tend to get hung up on the distinction between respondent conditioning and operant conditioning. Is this a respondent protocol or an operant one? Well, it's both. Let's take a closer look. Number 1, the animal in front of us does not care about our categories. We humans like to categorize the world around us because it helps us understand concepts and communicate with other humans. But I can guarantee you that animals are never asking themselves, is this a respondent protocol and I shouldn't pay attention to my behaviors? Or is this an operant protocol and I shouldn't pay attention to my emotions? These categories don't exist in your animal's head. Their bodies pay attention to both categories constantly because for them, there are no categories. Number 2, a behavior, or an action, if you will, is anything the living being in front of us does that is observable or measurable. This means that blinking, increasing your breathing rate, and stretching are all behaviors. Operant learning even works at the level of neuron behavior. Even neurons learn from consequences. So whether it's measurable inside your body or observable through your body movements, it's behavior, and it is subject to operant modification. Things like nonverbal communication, body language, are therefore subject to modification through learning, through consequences. Behavior is much more than just sit and give a paw. An excellent, easy-to-read book is The Science of Consequences by Susan Schneider. Number 3, a living being is always doing something. There is no time when your pet is doing nothing, unless they're dead. They are breathing, moving their head, they're looking, they're wagging their tail. There is no instance when the animal is just emotional and not performing behavior. Number 4, voluntary does not mean conscious. The definition of operant learning states that the behavior is voluntary. This should not be confused with conscious. If we're walking together while talking, and I offer you a chocolate chip every time you step on a crack in the sidewalk, it's quite possible that you'll start stepping on the cracks more often while we're walking together, even if you're not aware of it. If you watch movies in a language you want to learn, with subtitles in a language you're familiar with, or vice versa, you'll learn to understand the language you're less familiar with. You're not concentrating on every word. You're not consciously learning. Your brain learns the consequences of each word in the dialogue without you being attentive to it, and it records them. Researchers have even conducted studies where they manipulated the mini muscles contractions of humans by displaying coins on a screen as a reinforcer. The participants then had no idea why they had received coins during the experiment, but their mini muscle contractions had indeed been altered. This is in The Science of Consequences, pages 131 and 132. Yes, having an animal that looks like it just had a light bulb turned on above their head in a moment of sudden understanding is cool. But it does not need to be the case for operant learning to take place. Voluntary behavior does not necessarily mean conscious behavior, which brings us back again to body language and breathing rhythms, which can be reinforced. Number 5, for learning to stick, for an animal to remember what they learn, that learning must be relevant to them. For learning to be memorized, the right neurotransmitter must be released. And our brain only releases it if the learning seems relevant. Hello, the vector algebra math class that I had to retake in university. If we give a treat to a cat while they're in the presence of another cat that worries them, our consequence is irrelevant. Our cat wants the other cat to leave. The treat is not what is most relevant to them. If the consequence is relevant to the cat, their brain is more likely to register the learning. To learn more about this, listen to episode 35 of the Inner Cosmos podcast by neuroscientist David Eagleman. Are you starting to understand where I'm going with all of this? By planning our respondent conditioning protocol carefully, we don't expose our learner to a stimulus that is too intense, and therefore we will naturally get desirable behaviors from them, more variability in behavior. Instead of having an animal that freezes, tenses all their muscles, opens their eyelids wide, and increases their heart rate, we will have an animal that has a fluid body, disengages and orients themselves towards us easily, blinks, and calmly observes their environment while breathing deeply. These are all desirable behaviors. A well-executed gradual associative procedure creates the behavioral diversity we ultimately want to reinforce because it puts the animal in a position to succeed when faced with their trigger. This isn't just good because it's less stressful for the animal, it's also good because it reinforces more relaxed behaviors. Having a protocol that aims for relevance maximizes learning and therefore the speed of progress. If you try to teach me how to repair a snowmobile, you have little chance of succeeding because it's absolutely irrelevant to my brain. If you try to teach me something about feline behavior, I'm much more likely to remember it. Respondent protocols generally don't include the critical reinforcer that is synonymous with relevance. You can give me a check for $1,000 every time I see an intoxicated person physically threatening my neighbor on the street. But what matters much more to me is the fact that the intoxicated person left when I came out of the house brandishing a machete. My behavior had effect. The critical reinforcer occurred. The threatening, intoxicated person left. You can keep your check. I don't care for it one bit in this situation. Focusing on the operant does not mean asking the cat to sit in the presence of another worrisome cat. We want to look for all the other smaller behaviors like turning their head, blinking, and making a candy cane tail. These occur more easily and are quite desirable and good to reinforce. By focusing on the operant and relevance, and knowing that Pavlov will be on our shoulder anyway, we are much more effective in achieving our goal. We help the respondent aspect occur more quickly when we design our operant well. To summarize, plan operantly. Choose your approximations. This is like your graded exposure. Choose relevant reinforcers, so your learner learns what you want faster. And or give your learner control over what happens, just like when using a start button. And then you'll see the respondent change you were aiming for happen much more quickly. You might also want to listen to the Bitey End of the Dog podcast episode with Chirag Patel. If the subject interests you, they touch on this topic.